Hey everybody. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about how you can use DDE in LabVIEW. So for those of you who do not know, DDE stands for Dynamic Data Exchange. So this is a way that programs can basically talk to each other. You can request data from DDE servers. You can transfer data back and forth. You can request certain actions, stuff like that. So kind of cool. It's kind of so NI has a library created. So as you can see, these functions are in VILib. So if you go to your version of LabVIEW, VILib platform DDE.llb. So these don't show up in your palettes, but they do ship with LabVIEW. Main reason being that DDE is kind of a dying thing. It's recommended that you use ActiveX for a lot of the same stuff. But even then, ActiveX is already kind of a dying technology as well. So realistically, you shouldn't even really be using that. But there are times where you might need to, right? So sometimes, right, you need to integrate with some different software that might be acting as a DDE server, and you have no control over the customer's software, what they provide for you. This is just some ways you can interact with that. So first, I'm just going to show one example of how you can open an Excel spreadsheet using DDE. So Excel is a DDE server, so you can connect to it, do stuff with it through DDE. You also can through ActiveX, etc. So first, we are just going to use this DDE open conversation where I pass in the service that I want to connect to and the topic that I'm interested in. So in this case, the service is Excel and the topic is system. And then I'm going to use the DDE execute function, which allows me to basically send a command to the DDE server. In this instance, the command is open, and I'm passing in the path to the Excel spreadsheet I want it to open. And then I'm going to just DDE close conversation to close out that session. Let's load this demo spreadsheet. And I'm going to run this. So you can see it threw an error. It should. One thing with this is that the DDE server needs to be running in order to get the request. So I need to launch Excel first. Otherwise, there's not anything listening. There's no service that's checking for that. So now let's rerun this. And you can see my spreadsheet opened just fine. You get this little test spreadsheet, and it works just great. So that's our first example, just using DDE to open an Excel spreadsheet. Now let's go read all of the topics that Excel has. So we're going to use our same DDE open conversation to connect to Excel. We are going to then request an item, and that item is just all of the topics in Excel. It's just going to output a string, and then we're going to close that connection. So, sorry, I shouldn't have closed out of Excel. Let me relaunch that. Sweet. Let's run this, and I get a list of all of the different topics in Excel. So I can connect to these and interact with them through DDE. I don't know what most of those even are, but just, for demo purposes. So one more example I wanted to show is a demo of a DDE client and a DDE server, both implemented in LabVIEW. So LabVIEW can be a DDE server and it can be a client. So before in our previous examples, we were connecting to Excel. Excel was the server. LabVIEW can also be the server. So let's take a little look at this example. I can use the DDE service register service. I need to specify a service name, and I need to specify a topic. There's also this allow dynamic items, which basically allows items to be spun up as this is running. There's also this DDE service register item. So I'm just creating an initial item in my service, which in this case is going to just be called data, and it's just going to store this random number here. So, but you can have as many different items in there as you want. It's up to you to define how you want to what you want in there, and also an initial value. And just as a side note, right, the DDE functions all work with strings. So regardless of what data types you're using, you will have to convert to and from strings. Then from there, I'm just using the DDE server set item function to take this random number and just set this item we've created here to this value. Lastly, when we're all done, we're going to unregister the item and we're going to unregister the service. So that's kind of it on the server side. Let's look at the client side. Let me copy this over here. So we are just going to use the DDE open conversation. We're going to connect to the service and the specific topic. Then we're going to use the DDE request to request the specific item that we want. And we're going to read that data back and convert it to a float over and over again till we close out the conversation. So yeah, so let's go run our server and let's run our client. So you can see we're able to successfully transmit data this way. It's not a lossless transfer, right? So the DDE server is just updating the item. The item holds one value at a time, and the DDE gets the current state of that item when it makes the request. So if you're wanting a lossless data transfer method, this isn't the best way to do it. But yeah, this would be how you can basically stream data using DDE in LabVIEW. There you go. And this also will accept multiple, you could have many DDE clients connecting to one DDE server. It doesn't care whether nobody's connected at all or lots of people are connected. So yeah, but yeah, like I mentioned, the DDE stuff is kind of old. It's no longer really recommended, but there are times where you might have to use it, right? So I've had an example where I had a piece of software, third-party software that was provided to us. I needed to integrate with it. The only way to do that was through DDE, and so there they are. So these functions do ship with LabVIEW. You can leverage them, just not necessarily recommended. But yeah, you can do all sorts of stuff interacting, like I showed you, with Excel and other third-party applications, or you can create them, ways to leverage them in your own applications. But yeah, that would be DDE in LabVIEW. Thanks for watching.
Canon Controls is your gateway to mastering LabVIEW. Dive into programming for data acquisition, industrial communications, and manufacturing automation. Explore how to enhance your projects with cybersecurity best practices. Join the journey to elevate your skills and secure your systems with every episode.